All right, hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. This channel has an educational mission, which is to turn you on to great theories, concepts, and discoveries that you might not be familiar with. Things that probably are either very difficult or they've been suppressed, but they're worth the digging because they will revolutionize your life in terms of your quest for better spiritual, mental, or physical health. And this is a segment we have called the Q-tip of the spear, where I look at the InfoWar, the coverage of the cutting edge of the InfoWar, and just muse on some of the things that I've learned over the last day or so about the nature of the InfoWar, what's going on. And, I think, as you know, I'm pretty much a full control person. I believe that the battle has been won. The battle has been won against the deep state. The globalists, patriots are in full control, and they are choreographing events precisely to uh, roll out things that have already happened, so that people can understand them in a digestible way. And many of these events have to be choreographed in a very obvious or practically absurdly um, fake or uh, glaring way, so that the people that really aren't paying that much attention will snap to attention and say, "What was that about?" Um, it's there's some trances out there. A lot of people are in a trance, and it's like Sun Ra says, the last days. People all walking around in a daze. The days make them daisy. That's why they go crazy. They're crazy as a daisy. Yes, so people are in a trance. There are a few different kinds of trances out there, and but you got to kind of shock people to get out of them. You can't do it with just kind of straightforward uh, narrative. It's got to be shocking. And so, uh, it if you are already not if you're already not in the trance, then the events look absurd and an insult to your intelligence because they're so kind of crass. Um, and so, if your intelligence is easily insulted, I would suggest that you stop paying attention. Um, and otherwise, I would suggest that you would not pay as much attention because these events are not for you, and there are better things for you to do. You could wait around for the popcorn and to watch the middle level managers of the deep state circle the drain and grovel and suffer, and maybe even eventually be uh, you know dealt with. But in the big picture, playing the long game, I would recommend you invest in your future and all of our futures, because our future entails implementing the Patriot Agenda. And the Patriot Agenda is not really ready to go. It's not ready to roll because if you really examine the Patriot agenda, the good life, the ideals, the belief systems, the morality, the um, heroes, and the rituals, and the holidays, and the um, culture, and the governing principles, um, many of those things are unfortunately subject to deep state propaganda. They have not been properly scrutinized for their dependence on uh, deep, very deep state, you know, um, propaganda from not from the 20th or 21st centuries, but from much earlier, from ancient times, or from medieval or early modern times. Um, you know, it's turtles all the way down, as they say, or it's psyops all the way down. Just because you've only investigated the psyops and false flags and hoaxes and amplified messages and um, spectacles from the 20th and 21st centuries, psyops. Um, it doesn't mean that they weren't occurring before then, because they were occurring before then, just in the same type of abundance as now, and maybe even more so, because they were probably easier to pull off. But I don't know that, but maybe they were easier to pull off. Um, but you know, in particular, the Romans, I'm sure, were pulling off psyops left and right, but they're probably their masterpiece is the New Testament that was written by the Romans, the Caesars of the Flavian dynasty, and uh, and then afterward their relatives, um, that mostly became the bishops of Rome, which became the popes, and the Roman Catholic Church. And so this was a long game rollout of many books of the New Testament, but also the books of the Gnostic Gospels and other apocrypha, and the books of the Church Fathers, and then just the popes. Many secular books as well, and some of the Old Testament books as well. It was very thorough, and well done, and that's why it's still working 2,000 years later. But the truth of the matter is that the New Testament was a psychological operation that was written by the Romans against the Jews. And once you've, as a researcher into all things deep state and all things psyop, when you do look at the New Testament in that light, you'll be hitting yourself in the head and saying, oh, yeah, this is obviously a psyop. This is exactly what a psyop looks like. If you look at it objectively, you may be under a trance, however, because that is one of the trances that is um, very prevalent on the right, is this Jesus Bible trance. Whenever the term Jesus Christ or the Bible is mentioned, everybody just kind of falls in line in deference and reverence of this book and this person. And that to me is just not a truther approach. A truther scrutinizes everything. Nothing gets by without checking to see if this is something real, or did I inherit this? What were the sources? Where did this come from? What's the greater context? What were the motivations? Looking into just the basic rabbit holes that you do for all the other deep state things, all the other investigations that you've made. It has to be done. And when Christianity and the New Testament doesn't pass the test, I think we have to go forward on the concept of deism instead. Deism is really just the belief in one God who is good and who has endowed the creatrix, the creations, with many of us with higher faculties, reason, intuition, inspiration, aesthetics, conscience, um, and has encoded its own creation with the laws of physics, math, and geometry, the beauty of the universe, the simplicity and complexity, um, and just nature in general. And that enables us to understand God directly without intermediaries, without books, no Bibles needed, no Qurans needed, no priests or pastors or popes or imams or rabbis needed. Just you and the Creator with your higher faculties, tuned in. And that is the golden age, and that is where we're headed, and that is how you should spend your time instead of getting your popcorn and going to waiting for you know, the Christians versus Lions, or in this case, Deep State versus Lions, or whatever it is. Um, that Christian versus Lions thing never really happened. It was always Lions versus Jews. Um, but at that time, the boundary between Jews and Christians was very blurry. But the Christianity has always been a Roman-backed religion. The Romans have always supported the religion of Christianity. There have been very short periods of time during the Roman emperors where an emperor or two might have turned around and persecuted the Christians for a few years. But I think it's something like 12 years out of 400 where Christians were actually under persecution, um, something like that. Anyway, like, share, subscribe, comment, contribute, and come back tomorrow for another episode of the Q-Tip of the Spear. Thanks for tuning in today. Have a great day.